The Pittsburgh Steelers are not headed to the Super Bowl, but the Philadelphia Eagles are. And I think you know where I'm going with this. There is a lot of hope if the Steelers listen that they could follow the same path. What's going on, everybody? I'm Noah Strackbine. Thank you for jumping on to Steelers to Go, your daily to-go cup of Pittsburgh Steelers news and analysis. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talk or anywhere you get your podcasts. And today, I'm bringing hope to a situation that doesn't involve the Pittsburgh Steelers. Well, really, it does. The Philadelphia Eagles are headed back to the Super Bowl, and this team looks like a juggernaut. And there's a reason for that. Hard work, dedication to their players, the right investments, and good drafting. You look at this team and you look how it was sculpted, and you have to feel very confident that they could pull off a second Super Bowl win. And you got to think, how could this happen? Easy. His name's Andy Weidel. And yeah, there was a lot of other players and components built into the Eagles' success and how they got to where they are. But man, the Pittsburgh Steelers have a piece of that puzzle that they feel very confident in, and they should look towards to help them build a juggernaut, because Andy Weidel has proven to do this before, and I think he could do it again. You look at the Philadelphia Eagles and you look at Andy Weidel, you could take him back as far as you want to go. I mean, you could take him back to where he started in the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the first player that he drafted, or at least helped scout and draft, was Pro Football Hall of Famer Alan Faneca. Since then, he's gone on to do amazing and wonderful things, including winning Super Bowl XLVII, which off the top of my head, I do not know what number that is, with the Baltimore Ravens. He was a scout. He helped Pro Football Hall of Famer Ozzie Newsome create a Super Bowl team. Then he went off to Philadelphia, where he continued to do everything that he was going to do. He started his career learning under Bill Nunn, which in Pittsburgh is the cream of the crop. It does not get any better than Bill Nunn. And then he went on to Baltimore, continued to learn from a great organization, like him or not, great organization, develops and scouts phenomenal players, headed to Philadelphia eventually, where he turned the Philadelphia Eagles into a Super Bowl team, where he turned the Philadelphia Eagles into a team that could win with Nick Foles as their quarterback in a Super Bowl against Tom Brady. That's how good that team was. You could say whatever you want about whoever you want, but the Pittsburgh Steelers need to start listening to Andy Weidel, because Andy Weidel builds juggernauts. And then he continued to do so, and before leaving, had the team in a phenomenal spot to go do it again. And here they are, doing it again. The Pittsburgh Steelers have a secret weapon, and his name's Andy Weidel. And that's what I'm here to talk about, is that the Steelers, for the first time, feel different, okay? I've sat around for a long time and analyzed and reviewed everything that the Pittsburgh Steelers have done. I've spoken to people. I've learned the language. I've learned how things operate. I can tell you exactly how that organization works on a day-to-day basis, and all of the nicks and crannies that go into how they scout things and how they do things and how they operate. And it all kind of works the same way all the time. The Steelers are always operating on a certain basis, and that has obviously worked. I mean, whether you want to discredit 9-8 seasons or not, the Pittsburgh Steelers keep themselves afloat, and I think that's because of the Steelers way. The Steelers way operates well from time to time. Now, for the first time in what feels like a long time, the Pittsburgh Steelers have an opportunity to listen to somebody who brings outside perspective for a team that is currently at the top of the NFL. That's what you want. You want a new set of eyes. Everybody always talks about, oh, you got to bring in this guy, you got to bring in that guy, you got to get a new perspective on things, always. 100%. But it's not about just a new set of eyes. You could pull anybody off the street and ask them what their opinion is on how to change the organization. Doesn't matter. Do you know how to win? Or is your perspective a good perspective? And I think the Pittsburgh Steelers got the best perspective out there. They got a guy who comes from winning, who has done nothing his entire career but win, has built juggernaut after juggernaut, or helped build juggernaut after juggernaut, who has learned from Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer, and then has set up a team who never won a championship to be in position to win 2 of them. That's huge. That's a guy that brings the right perspective. That's a set of eyes. Now, there are reports out there that the Pittsburgh Steelers don't necessarily listen to Andy Weidel as much as they should have, and that's expected. You know, the pecking order is easily Art Rooney, Mike Tomlin, Omar Khan, and then Andy Weidel. A list of scouts right there next to him. But he's the assistant GM. He's not the actual general manager. And the Pittsburgh Steelers have to trust their general manager. They can't look at Andy Weidel and Omar Khan and say, okay, Omar, we're only going to listen to you for free agency deals and how to do contracts. And Andy, we're going to rely on your scouting. No, Omar Khan got the job because the Steelers feel confident that Omar Khan can do the job. That being said, they obviously have to listen to Andy Weidel. Do I believe that the Steelers are out here ignoring him? No, zero chance. And I think that anybody out here saying that the Steelers aren't going to pay attention to Andy Weidel, or he isn't being heard as much as he should be being heard, and I mean, that just isn't what the Steelers would bring him here to do. They wouldn't bring him in and say, hey, man, look, we're watching the Eagles in the Super Bowl this weekend. It's a great time. You should come over and eat some chips. Good job getting them there, or at least helping them get there. But we're not going to ask for your help to do the same here. No. I would imagine that the pecking order stays the same, but I imagine that Andy Weidel gets his feet in the mud and gets dirty with this team plenty of times. I imagine that they really do take him seriously in what he says and who he evaluates. And that's huge. He has built one of the best teams in football for the last X amount of years. They have one of the best offensive line. The consistency is crazy. They continue to know how to run the football. They go and get guys like Jalen Hurts, They build defenses. They know how to do this. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to learn how to do this because they haven't done it in a long time. It's been a long time since the Pittsburgh Steelers have built a juggernaut. And they have the pieces in place, but they've always had the pieces in place. It's been a long time of, oh, well, the Steelers have this, the Steelers have that. TJ Watt, Ben Roethlisberger, whoever. Now it looks like, okay, here's a guy that has taken the pieces, put the rest of the pieces around it, formed a super team that is competing for their second Super Bowl in X amount of years. The Steelers are looking to do the same thing. And it can't be a slow process because it doesn't look like the Eagles did it slowly. They built a team. They put all the guys together that they needed, then they felt they could put together. They built it, they got it strong, and then they sent it off to wreak havoc. I think the Steelers can do the same thing. And I think Andy Weidel is a key to that. So it feels good that the Steelers have a secret weapon. It feels good that the Steelers are going to head into this offseason, the first offseason with Andy Weidel, and be able to actually use his brain and say, hey, look, what do you see in this? How do we approach this? What can we do differently here? How do we approach the trenches? I mean, the Steelers have to replace their entire defensive line outside of Cam Hayward, and they need to do so successfully before the defense falls off. I mean, that's Andy Weidel's specialty right there. They need to fix the offensive line. Again, Andy Weidel's specialty right there. You look at the Philadelphia Eagles and you look at the guys on the offensive and defensive line and guys like London Fletcher and Lane Johnson and Jason Kelsey and Javon Hargrave, and you look at all these guys and think, wow, this team is built to dominate in the trenches. The Steelers would love to dominate in the trenches. They're built around the trenches to dominate in the trenches. They're not built to dominate in the trenches in the trenches. That's where Andy Weidel will come in. That's where a lot of this will change. The Steelers are going to rely on this guy, and it's very positive. And anybody looking for a little upside, watching the Super Bowl, a little bit of, okay, I feel really good about this, a reason to root for a team to see them do as well as possible. The Philadelphia Eagles are it, because what they do is almost a direct reflection of what Andy Weidel is capable of doing in his role.